Welcome to Discover the Wonder. Today we have somebody very amazing on the program. Actually, a true angel, Kim Sill, who is America's premier animal rescue activist, runs Shelter Hope Pet Shop in Thousand Oaks, and very well known in Southern California and America all around. Welcome, Kim.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on the program. It's so exciting to have you as somebody who has very few friends. I have a very special friend that's been with me for 7 years, and so I can appreciate animals all around. So I love what you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about how you started? You have obviously have had an amazing journey. Can you tell me a little bit of how did you get into it, and how did you come to have this and find your own empathy?
Well, luckily, I was brought up in a home where my dad was a social worker. He worked for the Georgia Baptist Children's Home in South Georgia. And during the summers, he would take me with him as he went around to the foster homes to check on the kids. And lots of times he would have to take kids out of their foster care home and move them back to the children's home for various reasons. And a lot of the times they would have picked up a stray. They had an animal with them that meant the world to them, but the foster family wasn't wanting to keep that animal. And so my dad and I ended up in lots of government shelters with animals, taking them to get, new homes, hopefully. And so I got to see that firsthand. And there was this one little dog on the way back from one of the foster homes that I called Little Bit because it was a puppy and it wasn't well. And my dad let me go into the shelter with him so that I could see it. And that never left me. I mean, it was like when you go into a real government animal shelter and you hear the cries and you see the people that are working there and they're trying so hard to save these animals, it imprinted that this is, that was, 50 years ago. And it's still happening today. And I think the crisis in America has actually probably gotten worse because of overbreeding and lack of enforcement of laws and things. But I enjoy what I do now, and I found a purpose in life, and I meet wonderful people that are doing the same thing. So it's been a very rewarding journey, I must say.
Can you talk a little bit about, not the specific numbers, but can you just give us a sense, a scope of animals that get abandoned, animals that get taken in, that get adopted? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, well, in different regions of different places, like in the Midwest, there's a whole influx of puppy mill animals being bred for profit. Those animals do get sold online. They get shipped across to different states, to different pet stores. In California, when I first started working with Last Chance for Animals, we were on a mission to stop the puppy mill influx of dogs from those Midwest states into California. Because even back in the early 2000s, we still had very high kill rates in California. As progressive as a state as California, you would think, oh, people are buying dogs and people aren't selling dogs, they're not flipping dogs. But in California, we are the number one state that euthanizes animals in our government shelters. And the reason is because there's no actual enforcement of the laws that we actually have in place here in California. Animal control is doing their best, and most of them are at over 150% capacity. So when you see things on the news like all these dogs, in hallways, shoved in kennels where there's literally space for two and they've got like 15, it's true. There's overbreeding here in California, so there's the need for lots of rescue groups to step in and take that overflow from the shelters and save what we can. But it's a drop in the bucket, and I've been doing this with my shelter for 15 years. We'll be in business for 15 years now, and we've saved over 16,000 animals, primarily from the high kill shelters in California, but we're still not making a dent. So I think that society needs to really look at, how we treat our best friends. I mean, you've got this beautiful Peaches here, and I can see that she's very well cared for. And most people, when they get a dog, they do take into consideration the vetting aspect and how much that's going to cost a year. The training aspect, because, you want a well-behaved dog, you don't destroying your house. And then the fact that, what's going to happen to the dog if something happens to me? I mean, you're a young man, so, but you probably thought about, well, who's going to, take care of Peaches if something, catastrophic happened to you? And those are just the three primary basic things you want to think about when you get a pet. And I don't think a lot of people think about the basics. They get one as an impulse, or they get one because it's, somebody gave it to them, or they get one as a trend, like the Frenchies. The Frenchies have been trendsetters for the past 10 years. They've been, the American National Dog Show winner for several years. And unfortunately, people like Lady Gaga get these dogs, and then they get stolen, and then they're all over the news, and then people are like, well, what's the craze about the dogs? Then you go on Instagram and you see them on skateboards, you see them doing crazy things, and they're lovely dogs. They really are. And they probably, for some people, make the right companion. They make the right fit for some people. But what I've seen as far as the past few years, we've taken in probably 60 purebred Frenchies because people get the dog. They don't realize how much it costs to actually keep the maintenance up on my dog. You like a Ferrari. I mean, it's not going to run like a Focus. It's going to run like a Ferrari, and you got to keep that up. It's not like a Ford Focus that you don't have a lot of maintenance on. So I tell people, I've got this Frenchie. We've done the first basic vetting on the dog, which is fix the dog. Make sure it doesn't have any skin issues. Get it on the right food, because with Frenchies, they can have many, many food allergies. And we're finding that a lot of people don't realize that when they get a Frenchie. So they'll feed them anything, and then all of a sudden their skin is just got psoriasis or Demodex. I mean, they've got like major skin issues most of the time, and it's dietary. So basic, things like that people don't realize. They get a dog, and then it ends up with me or another rescue or something.
Thank you.
That was long-winded.
No, it's wonderful. Wonderful. So, not to get too philosophical here, but you've seen in your lifetime many abandoned animals. You've also interacted with a lot of good-hearted people who came to rescue those animals and adopted them. How do you reconcile humanity on one hand, the abandonment on the other hand, the need to love and the desire to love and care and that ability? How do you, I'm just perplexed sometimes. Anyway, I was curious.
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for that, Daniel, because, a lot of people don't dive that deep. But frankly, there came a point in my, rescue world that I got a little bitter. I mean, people would walk in the door with an animal, and I would feel like, oh my God, I can't take this. I don't want to have compassion for the person. I'm so angry. I'm looking at this animal that needs care, and they just want to get rid of it. But it was during COVID that, we remained open and government shelters were closed. I mean, frankly, my savior was having that shelter during COVID, going there and still being able to interact with people. And so when people came in with animals, and most of the stories were really horrific about their loved ones dying, and no one would let them back into their homes to get the animals. And it was just like surviving until it was okay to remove their bodies of their family members that had died, whatever. I mean, I never thought I would hear something like that. And I'm experiencing it with people that are, masked up. They've got these dogs in plastic bags because they're scared to touch them because they might have COVID, they might get COVID. I mean, I really had to dig deep. And then I really didn't, because I just started feeling like a human being. I wanted to hug those people. I wanted to say, oh my God, what you've been through. Frankly, I didn't, quarantine myself. I was very lucky. I never got COVID, and I stayed busy. I stayed active. I went to the shelter every day, and I was taking animals. And sometimes people said, can I hug you? I just want to hug you and thank you. And I let them. My husband, when he hears this, he's going to be pissed off because he was like very, very cautious during that time. But that was humanity to me. That brought my humanity back, because years before that, I was really questioning how I could keep doing this if I was becoming so bitter,
I see. One thing that I love about my dog, if I may say so, is this unspoken language that she and I have. I mean, aside from the fact that she doesn't bark, and I don't even know if she has the capability to speak at all, but there is this unspoken language when she looks at me, when she expresses herself to me, that is very unique and very special, very, very specific to animals, I feel. Have you experienced that with a rescue that you took in, that spoke to you?
I've had that wonderful experience many times, and I think mine comes from learning. I worked with Cesar Millan for many years, and his protege, Sherry Lucas. They both taught me that if you ignore the dog for at least 5 minutes when you first interact with it, that you will teach that dog that you are a leader and that it can communicate a through feeling to you. And I'm lucky because I have the, willingness to do that. It's hard because sometimes you just want to grab them and hold them and, give them that human compassion. But if you don't, you can create that communication that you've got with your dog. And it is lovely. And why doesn't your dog bark? Does it have a barker removed or something?
She's always been mute. It was very strange and very interesting.
Wow.
Or maybe she just doesn't really like me. I'm not really sure.
But Goldens bark.
Right, I know. I have never heard her bark. It's the strangest thing.
And where did she come from?
Oh, I don't know if I should be telling you this.
Well, you don't have to tell
No, I will tell you. I will tell you. She came 2 hours inland, San Jacinto,
from a good breeder.
From a good, quote unquote, good breeder. But she was the last in the litter. She was older. She had an eye infection. She was a little troubled, shall we say. So I think in a sense...
No, this is a good conversation.
Adopted her in a sense.
Okay.
I rescued her, so to speak.
This is a great conversation because my mission, my newest reinvention of my mission is to inform people that there probably are good breeders out there. And I would never tell you not to get to one of them. A good breeder in this case, I don't think that was a good breeder because why is this dog not being treated for the genetic defects that this breeder created in this dog? You just told me before we started that it had a tumor, which we see lots of tumors, cancerous tumors in golden retrievers, and lots of different types of diseases, food allergies and things like that with them, and lots of focus things. And I haven't heard about the barker, but I know a lot of breeders will remove a barker because they don't like to hear the constant barking. So that could have been done to this dog and you don't know that.
When you say they remove the barker, what exactly do you mean by that?
They literally remove the ability for the dog to bark. They do it in puppy mills. They do it in backyard breeding situations. And a lot of breeders do it because they live in, maybe they don't have that much land, so they can't have the animals too far from their home, and they don't want to hear the barking all the time. Because when a dog is bred, if it's bred in a mill-like environment, there's a lot of dogs, and it's loud. So, when you first introduced me to her, I was like, a couple of little things, but I'm glad we're having this conversation because I think people need to do their homework when they're getting a dog.
Fascinating.
Now, I'm glad you got her. I'm glad that,
Do you want to adopt her? She's available.
But I mean, I think, it's difficult. People want to do the right thing. And in our world right now, there's a political environment where you have to say that you've adopted the dog. Right. And I've noticed lots of breeders, especially the ones that advertise online. And there's, you can't get away from all these ads you're getting. Every time you're looking for a new dog, you'll get ads from breeders. You'll get ads from fake rescues. People trying to sell you a puppy. But they don't say sell. They say, oh, we've got these beautiful Pomeranian puppies up for adoption. We've got these golden retriever puppies up for adoption. Well, you're buying a dog. In California, the legal limit of what you can pay for a rescue dog is $500. So if somebody's charging you above that and it's not fixed and it's not completely vaccinated and it is coming from a place where it's got like an eye infection or, known defects, that's probably not legal. You should definitely not go to them.
Understood. Can you give us a sense, what is your life like on a weekly basis? A little bit your workflow. Not to be too boring, but I think maybe it'd be interesting to hear a little bit what goes on in your life on a daily basis.
Well, I saw some pinball machines when I came in here, and I'm like, well, my life is kind of like a pinball machine. I mean, I do this in the morning, I pull it, and then what is happening? I get to my phone, okay, 35 text messages from numbers I don't know. And that is people trying to give me a dog, trying to get me to help them with a dog that maybe has some behavior issues. You know, there's a myriad of different reasons why somebody would reach out to me. Half of them are most likely people trying to give up animals, and they're on their last, days of holding on to the animal, or it's another rescue saying, can you take this dog? It's at North Central. It's going to be killed today. There's lots of networking. And then there's my staff that is like, coming in late or needs to do something else, and they need to take some time off because, it is a stressful environment working in a shelter. And so that alone, keeps me, okay, well, I'm going to have to go in today for a few hours, which I usually like to run my ship from my house. Right now in my own house, I have a dog that we picked up from Baldwin Park Shelter on, can't even remember what day this week it was, but it was a dog that was 13 years old, purebred Shih Tzu, tiny little Shih Tzu, completely blind, broken back, pneumonia, and it was going to die. But all these people, I kept getting the email from different people. Can you help this dog? Can you help this dog? And I keep looking at it. And then my friend Katie, she said, Kim, if you take this dog, I'll go pick it up. I'll get it delivered to you. And so that made it easy. Then I was like, okay, done. I'll take that dog. So that dog is at my house right now, and I'm more or less fostering it through its medical care, because that particular dog, having a kennel cough that is at pneumonia level, taking it to my shelter could give pneumonia and kennel cough to everybody in there. It spreads like wildfire. Whew, so I'm exhausted just telling you.
No, I understand. No, I love it. I get it. But this is wonderful. So there's almost a network of people who monitor and then alert you.
Yes, and I feel like I'm like the air traffic controller of my own little network. Someone like your friend Kathy that introduced us. She could be texting me about a dog in Fresno and saying, well, I'll pick it up and I'll drive it down on the weekend if you can take it. Because Fresno is a hot spot for lots of stray dogs and dogs being let out on the street. Then you move a little further south to Bakersfield, where I work with a group called the Bakersfield Strays. And they're amazing, 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 amazing people. They literally go out and trap. They trapped 2 dogs last night. I could show you the video of those 2 dogs, and they didn't have a place for them. I saw them on Instagram. I said, I'll take them. So now they're being moved to a foster of mine in Taft, which is only about 30 minutes from Bakersfield. But there are these amazing people that are doing this selflessly. They're not, on a podcast talking about it like me or going on KTLA or whatever. They're actually just doing it because they're in those regions where they're seeing these poor dogs get hit by cars or getting overpopulated because they see mamas and puppies like running the streets, and they want to help. And I'm lucky enough to know these people and to be able to call them up and say, can you take this one or that one? And, they never ask for money to, even pay for their overhead. It's like, wow. I mean, there are so many good people out there, and it is a network, like you said, of all these people. And I've been working with some of these people for 30 years.
Jeez.
Yeah.
In your experience, I'm just curious, is there a particular breed that you have encountered that people are not that aware of that is actually quite magical and wonderous, and we don't?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
It's called mutt, M-U-T-T, complete mutt, Heinz 57. There's lots of names for it, but it's dogs that have blends of different breeds in them. Now, when I was working with Last Chance for Animals, there was this thing going around about, and they were calling them hybrid, designer hybrids. And I was looking at them, and we were investigating pet shops like in the Beverly Center and at Pets of Bel Air up in, Mulholland area, where lots of celebrities would buy these $2,000 hybrid designers. And I mean, they're still out there, these hybrids, and they're still being sold as hybrids, but they really are mutts, and they're mixes. Like there's Maltipoos and, golden doodles, but those dogs are mutts. I mean, And some of the mutts that are created aren't magical, and some of them are. Like, I mean, I've got like this little dog now that I think he's got Yorkie, I think he's got Maltese, and I think he's got Chihuahua, and he's gorgeous, and he's got such personality, and he was on the streets, and he was brought to us probably because of one of the most recent ice raids. We're getting a lot of, well cared for dogs that their owners are nowhere to be found, and so they're being brought to shelters. And this one, he's got the weirdest looking eyes, and he has no teeth, because when we got him to the vet, that was like, you know what, I think we're going to have to take all these teeth. And that's, notorious for teeny little dogs, because he's about 5 pounds, and we called him Gumby, because after we got him to the vet, he had no teeth, but he still ate like a truck driver. I mean, he ate the kibble, and, he'll eat anything.
Last question, I think. In your experience, can you remember a time that you have taken in an animal and I don't want to say it was misbehaved, but it was problematic, let's say, and then you found this animal home and it was a complete turnaround? Do you remember? Can you describe a little story?
Oh God, I've got 100 stories, because we get a lot of beautiful dogs like Peaches, that, fit the bill as far as, oh, they're purebred. Oh, they're gorgeous. Oh, they're this, but they bite toddlers. Oh, they're going to get killed at the shelter because they have a bite history, and somebody got bit when they got into a dog fight. So the dog has to be an only dog. So yes, those are the reasons why a lot of rescues will get a dog, and it's usually behavioral. And you have to identify what it is and how you can have a plan to have success for that dog. Well, my plan is usually, go to a trainer like Brandon McMillan or Caesar, somebody that, can tell you what exactly you need to do as the rescue person to rehabilitate the dog in the actual process before you find a home. Because, that's hard. Like with most dogs that have a bite situation, I want to get that dog to a retired couple that has no grandchildren and that is very dog savvy. They've had lots of dogs in their life. They understand dog behavior. They're not going to do something stupid and put that dog in harm's way. So, that's my primary strategy. If I went to my playbook, I have lots of luck with retired couples that are dog savvy, taking on challenging cases. And in Thousand Oaks, I'm lucky enough to be in an area where lots of people come back and visit with their dogs that were biters or that were, misbehaving kind of dogs. And I get to see them thriving. I also get to hear, the stories, we have this, and then we learned we had to readjust and this and that. But the key, I would say, for anybody hearing this and that maybe doesn't quite get what I'm talking about, is if you get a dog, figure out socially how to keep that dog in a social environment and understand what its triggers are. Like, you're not going to take a dog that's, not dog friendly to a dog park or to a dog cafe. Figure out what you can do as a human to keep that dog social, like maybe take it on a hike with a really, short lead, because other people are on hikes too. And when another dog is approaching you, give it a treat and make it sit and make it stay. It's not that hard. You do it 4 or 5 times, and before you know it, the dog will do it for you. You won't even have to ask it. Does that answer your question, or did I?
No, absolutely. Incidentally, Peaches hates to go on a hike. So, Peaches, you're going home with Kim.
No hikes for you.
If people want to get involved, want to be supportive of you and your cause, what's the best way to support you?
Well, I have a couple of different places you can visit. You can go to shelterhopepetshop.com and visit. You can go and explore my new website called thetruthAboutFakeRescues.com. We're posting videos and they're all anonymous, from people that have had bad experience with rescues and bad experience in different areas of animal, welfare. And, you can check that out. And if you're not in this area and you're somewhere in a different state, there are so many great people doing exactly what I'm doing at different levels, you should go and volunteer with one of them. I always tell people, if you're not in Thousand Oaks, I think I told them to tell you this, find somebody in your neighborhood. Go on Nextdoor, go on social media, get recommendations from people who have actually worked with someone that's doing what you want to do.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
This was so meaningful. We appreciate you, and hopefully you'll come back.
I will.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, share, and we'll see you again soon.
Do you have volunteers at your place? Yes. Can my son and I come and volunteer?
Definitely.
Okay, we'd love to do that. I want to volunteer. Yeah. Because I would love him to do that. So
Yes.
we have this Pomeranian, and my son wants to get another dog. Okay. So part of the plan, because he wanted two, part of the plan is that we were going to breed her one time so he could have the experience of the puppies and get a puppy. Is that a good idea or not?
I can tell you from firsthand experience with the breed of Pomeranian, it is not a good idea. And I'll tell you why. Because the females, and is yours a female?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's small. She's 6 pounds.
Oh, it's so sad. So female Pomeranians, after they've had a litter of puppies, develop cancerous tumors in their breast. So, and it's something that maybe won't show up for a few years. But in most breeding situations, lots of dogs get tumors, but Pomeranians are on the higher end of that. I took in a couple of Pomeranians a couple of weeks ago that I can show you. I don't know, they might be puppies. I need to look at the video that I have, but I did take them in from the Bakersfield. The mama looked like probably on the smaller side of the Pomeranian, not like a big fat face, but like a thinner face Pomeranian, but beautiful.
It's like a little foxy face.
Yeah, she got like a fox. This one has more of a foxy face too. The problem with anything like you're trying to train your son what's really going on in the world, breeding any breed of dog right now, when we've got this crisis in our shelters and in our own communities, I wouldn't do that. I would have him come and see. I can send you our orientation video.
Yeah.
Once you see that, you can see, how our operation works. And I mean, while he's there, he may see an intake. I think it is good for kids to see a family, like the families that came in on Thursday that were being taken from, it's like, this is the real world that we're living in. There's a lot of fake stuff out there, a lot of fake news out there that refuses to put the truth out there. And the truth is that you don't have to breed your dog to give him a great experience of understanding. You could, he can choose the dog. When given the right situation and a child feels comfortable, like most kids, I tell them, pick the dog you want, whatever dog you want. The parents hate it. They're like, no, 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 no. But when you see the child pick the dog, you'd be surprised what they pick. Now, they don't have to take that dog home. But which dog would they pick? Most of the time, they'll pick the one that needs the most help. They'll take like the old 13-year-old that I took home the other day. Because kids have an enormous amount of compassion. And they connect with animals much better than we do.